So this video is about looping. A basic search will tell you that looping is a sequence of instructions that are continually repeated until a certain condition is reached. This takes around 3 steps as per the definition. So first is initialize. Initialize is nothing but we are just telling the loop what is our starting point. A loop can start from a higher point as high as n and also from a lower point as low as 0. After the initialize part, there comes the condition. Condition is nothing but where we tell the loop where do you want to exit. After the initialize part, we can set a condition from where the loop will exit out of the repetitive steps. This is a very important part of a loop because if there is no exit condition, we might end up in an infinite loop. An infinite loop which would never stop and might hang your processor. Third part of the loop is the increment or decrement, we could say. Increment or decrement is the way we loop into things. So when we have a starting point, we have a condition, we need something to reach there. So if our starting point is like n, then we need to decrement it like in phase manner. Whenever one task is complete, we decrement it. If our starting point is 0, we increment it. It could be 1 by 1, 2 by 2, or like your incremental could be your choice. So every task done can be incremented once in a basic loop. So similar to the condition, increment is also a necessary part of a loop. If it is not done, you might end up in an infinite loop and hanging your processor. So make sure these 3 conditions or part are part of your loop: initialize, condition, and increment. Let's understand this with a real world example. For example, I am a race car driver and I want to complete 10 laps. How would I know that I have done 10 laps? This is a loop of 10 laps, like I said. Let's take a real world example for that case. The real world example is no different. We have to complete the 3 parts of a loop to complete these 10 laps. The 3 parts are initialize, condition, and increment. When we start the lap, the initialize part is done, we are at 0 lap. The condition that we have is that I want to complete 10 laps. The increment would be when I start doing 1 lap at a time. So let's see how it happens. Driver sets out for the first lap. The first lap is done. Initialize changes to 1. The condition is not yet met. He has to complete 10 laps. Driver sets out for the second lap, the third, the fourth, the fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, 9, 10. Oh, 10 laps are complete. Condition is fulfilled. We are out of the loop. Now coming in terms of programming, there are basic 2 types of loop, a for loop and a while loop. Let's see how they work and how do we write a code in Java for a for loop and for a while loop. A basic loop, like I said, will have 3 parts: initialize, condition, and increment. So similar to that, a for loop will also have all 3 of them. And then it has the body, which is the basic task that you want that loop to repeat. So a for loop, like we say, we have defined a for loop. The first part, I equal to 0, is the initialize. The second part, which you see separated by a semicolon, is the condition. The third part, that is the third part of the for loop, it is the increment. So basically this loop starts from 0, ends at 10, and increments by 1. Similar to that, a while loop also will fulfill all 3 parts and then only it will be able to successfully complete 10 laps or 10 loops rather. So in this, if you see, currently we just see the condition and the body. So we have the condition and we have the task, but we are missing the 2 things. So the first thing is increment or the initialize, sorry. So first we need to initialize, then we have the condition, and we also need the increment so that we can come out of this loop. So if you see, there is the initialize, there is the condition, and here we add the increment, and this loop is complete. So this loop, while loop, will also perform 10 actions that you want and get out of it. Thanks for watching this. Do subscribe if you like it.